take you live now to the federal opposition leader Sussan Ley, who is holding a press conference.
Well, may I take this opportunity to wish all Australians a safe, peaceful and prosperous new year, looking forward into 2026. Can I particularly encourage those in Sydney not to be cowed or fearful by the threats of terror and the testing times, particularly that city has seen, but to come out, to celebrate, to see in the new year in uniquely Australian style, in this, the luckiest of countries, and of course to do so in a safe manner. And from here in regional New South Wales, can I remind everyone, particularly on our country roads, to drive with particular care. I just make some further remarks about the Prime Minister. Australians deserve a straight answer from their Prime Minister. What is Anthony Albanese hiding? Yesterday he claimed that unnamed actual experts had advised him against holding a Commonwealth Royal Commission. Today he refuses to say who those experts actually are. He refuses to say who those experts actually are. But Australians do deserve the truth. Not what they heard from the Prime Minister yesterday, vague gestures towards the National Security Committee of Cabinet, talk about process, his usual slippery language. We need clear answers. Is it the Prime Minister's position that the Australian Federal Police have advised against a Commonwealth Royal Commission? Is it the Prime Minister's position that the Australian Security Intelligence Organisation has advised against a Commonwealth Royal Commission? Is it the Prime Minister's position that the Office of National Intelligence has advised against a Commonwealth Royal Commission? None of these agencies have publicly stated this. In fact, senior figures have said that it's highly unusual for our security agencies to advise against a Commonwealth Royal Commission. And as Senator James Patterson pointed out today, it puts our national security and law enforcement agencies in an impossible position. They are, of course, part of the process involved in any Commonwealth Royal Commission with respect to their conduct. That's a simple fact. And for them to be used as the reason for these unnamed actual security experts is not reasonable and it's not right. So we need clear answers from the Prime Minister. Meanwhile, we have more Australians calling for a Commonwealth Royal Commission into the Bondi massacre and the surge in anti-Semitism in this country. We have former AFP commissioners, former defence leaders, former intelligence chiefs, former senior judges, the victims' families, most importantly of all. And we have millions of Australians, and we have the wider community. But meanwhile, we have no answers from this Prime Minister. Now, a couple of days ago, the Prime Minister said the reason for not calling the Commonwealth Royal Commission was to protect Jewish Australians and not provide a platform for anti-Semitism. Well, that excuse lasted about 15 minutes after it was torn to shreds by victims' families and the wider community. Is the Prime Minister hiding behind a smokescreen? Is he using national security as a political shield? Australians deserve straight answers. Does this advice exist? What is the Prime Minister hiding?
Passports are going up again, the most expensive in the world. Should the price be low?
Too many things are going up for ordinary Australians, and looking at the list as we turn over into a new year, I know that families who are struggling to meet their bills every week, every fortnight, who are looking ahead to school returning and all of the costs that come with that, and maybe expenses that naturally take place over Christmas, are going to be incredibly worried about rising prices. We've seen inflation continue to rise. Unfortunately, we have the prospect of interest rate rises early in the new year. Meanwhile, we have a Prime Minister who promised that everything would be cheaper under him, but unfortunately everything is getting more expensive. And we have a Prime Minister who simply doesn't understand the realities and the lived experience for so many Australians who are doing it tough this summer and into the future.
Just on that, energy rebates have finished, and how should the government help Australians struggling with the cost of living?
We've got a part-time energy minister managing a part-time energy grid. We've got a Prime Minister who insists that energy is being managed responsibly and it's the right policy, but it's not. And the effect of those rising energy bills is affecting every single part of the family's budget, whether it be walking into the supermarket and buying the weekly groceries, whether it be anything that comes to you that's delivered from somewhere else, using energy to get there. Most importantly, keeping your house cool on these very hot summer days. The cost of energy has gone up by 40%, and we have a government that is not indicating in any way how it will come down. Meanwhile, we see Anthony Albanese signing this country onto targets that he cannot meet at a cost that Australians cannot afford.
I have one further question on the Royal Commission. What do you make of Labor Minister Tim Ayres' comments this morning that a Royal Commission to the terror attack, in his words, would be symbolic and cause division and delay, despite the families of the victims pleading for one?
Yet another Labor minister tone deaf to the realities. Yet another member of Anthony Albanese's cabinet who does not understand what is at stake here. And I don't know whether this minister has bothered to speak to the Jewish community or indeed the Australian community that has such anxiety over the events of December the 14th and the surge in anti-Semitism in the last 2 years, and has heard directly from Australians who feel that their lives are unsafe. But I would simply appeal once more to the Prime Minister and his ministers to listen to victims. Victims are the experts in anti-Semitism and anti-Jewish hatred. They have lived it. They have experienced it. They have told their leaders about it. But it appears from this minister that those leaders are not listening.
Just a final question from us. Do you have any New Year's resolutions?
My New Year's resolutions are, well, I've been on the same Couch to 5K running app for the entire year, so I think in 2026 I need to do better. And with respect to my amazing 6 grandchildren, another generation of Aussies, I want to read to them more from some wonderful Australian authors.
Can I just ask one question? I discussed with Helen this morning, maybe you just answer to Jez for this one. Just on the gun reforms, whether the current proposals for gun reforms are appropriate perhaps for regions, rural regions like Albury, or are they more just suited for sort of Melbourne, Sydney? Should there be a broader gun base or something that sort of takes both into account?
We've seen a massive distraction about gun laws that has come from this Prime Minister and this government. And we've seen it across the board. I will not be distracted from the real issue here, which is about anti-Jewish hatred and a royal commission into that, and indeed the events that led to the Bondi massacre.
Except the government might not be able to go into the details of advice given to it during National Security Committee meetings, given the National Security Risk.
That was the federal opposition leader Sussan Ley encouraging people in Sydney to celebrate despite the horror of the Bondi terror attack. And on those ramped up calls for a royal commission, she said Australians deserve a straight answer, questioning what the Prime Minister is hiding by not calling one. And she said that he must say who those experts are that he's relying on in not calling one. Also lamenting the fact that energy bill rebates are coming to an end next year.